It's Halloween when the pictures got bigger, and we've been spending the last month going over some horror movie histories. I've enjoyed watching some really dark and scary stories, but Halloween is about more than just hiding under the covers in total fear. Sometimes it's all about watching something light and fun and animated, chomping on candy while staying cozy and warm and away from the things that go bump in the night. Today, I've got 5 spooky cartoons worth mentioning, with a total runtime of under 90 minutes.
I like the sound of that.
Let's start our night off with 1929's The Skeleton Dance, one of my favorite cartoons regardless of genre. In our Universal Monsters episode, we learned that the term horror wasn't really used to define films until Dracula in 1931. Before that, films that could be considered horror today weren't meant to scare audiences, but rather to entertain them. And that can certainly be said for The Skeleton Dance. The Skeleton Dance was the first of Disney's long line of silly symphonies, a series of shorts that was largely dialogue-free, with most of the music being diegetic and coming from the action on screen. The Skeleton Dance was meant to make audiences laugh, and not to hide under their chairs, with most of the gags deriving from skeletons contorting their bones and dancing under the moonlight. The Skeleton Dance was wildly successful, and although it's extremely simplistic, it was a huge hit in 1929 for how revolutionary it was. In 1994, it was voted as the 18th greatest cartoon of all time by key animators, and it launched the Silly Symphony series that would go on to be one of Disney's crowning achievements.
I'd like to be in the parade, but I haven't any pretty clothes to wear.
Again, this won't blow your socks off, but the Skeleton Dance is surprisingly catchy. And it's a perfect introduction for kids to the spooky, given its major intent is to make them laugh. After you check that out, let's dial the fear factor up a bit.
The numbers all go to 11.
With 1933's The Devil's Ball, my pick for the creepiest short you've never heard of. The Devil's Ball is almost a proto-Toy Story, with anamorphic toys and creatures in search of an orange for a young girl. There is much more to our 33-minute story, though, with the devil entering as one of its main antagonists and his minions going around wreaking havoc. The plot here is thin, but the atmosphere more than makes up for it. This is creepy. Intricate sets and terrifying creature design will have you equal parts impressed and horrified. The Devil's Ball was directed by Ladislav Stervich, and despite coming out over 90 years ago, its stop motion is decades ahead of even what we see today. One of my favorite gags involves a balloon drinking himself to death by growing so large that he pops. A lot of the gags are as visually inventive as what we see in the Skeleton Dance, but they have the added benefit of being made in one of the most difficult formats ever to nail. The toys from Toy Story are not creepy. These are. The Devil's Ball is fun, fast-paced, and creative, and it's a hidden gem in such a crowded market of quality horror shorts.
Come on, let's get going. It's time for the Halloween party.
We're now roughly 40 minutes into our Halloween marathon, and it's time for the centerpiece of the night. The warmest, friendliest, and most heavily merchandised spooky TV special. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Like many of you, I grew up watching this special each year on television, but that doesn't mean nostalgia is helping me view this with rose-colored glasses. Make no mistake, this Peanuts special is the perfect encapsulation of Halloween. The humor here is perhaps the strongest of any Peanuts special.
I got a quarter. I got a rock.
And its impact on culture cannot be understated. This was the third Peanuts special, but by far the most successful, with its original airing in 1966 being viewed by 49% of American households. In addition to spawning several more Charlie Brown specials, it solidified the Halloween episode as a television genre tour de force. It's also beautiful visually. During the sequence where Snoopy journeys across the French countryside, the backgrounds are painted instead of hand-drawn, and the sequence utilizes linear perspective instead of the typical side panel view, lending to the segment's otherworldly feel. Every frame in this sequence and the entire special could be its own painting, and in addition to the beauty and humor of it all, the episode is full of tender moments, like when Lucy brings Linus to bed after he falls asleep waiting for the Great Pumpkin. If there's any recommendation you're likely to already have seen, it's this. But as long as we're spending a night with cozy cartoons that perfectly evoke the feeling of pumpkins and ghosts, there is no recommendation more deserving than this. We've got 2 more spooky shorts now, and both are of the stop-motion variety. This might just be me, but I find stop-motion animation to be the prime medium for unsettling horror. Maybe it's the fact that some of the most celebrated horror films are of that variety, with Coraline or The Nightmare Before Christmas being 2 prime examples. In fact, our 4th recommendation was animated by Paul Barry, who was responsible for animation on both The Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach. I'm talking about 1991's The Sandman, which perfectly blends the feeling of fright with that of late-night Adult Swim commercials. The Sandman follows the legend of the Sandman, a creature of European folklore that supposedly sprinkles sand onto children's eyes as they sleep, resulting in beautiful and peaceful dreams. Barry's version takes on a darker version of this tale, with the Sandman being a creature that children fear and one that plucks children's eyes from their skulls. It is a dark and creepy spin on this familiar story, and one that is perfectly suited for the stop-motion medium. The short takes great inspiration from German Expressionism, which was notorious for its sharp, jutting angles and deep shadows. If you're a fan of German Expressionism, or Tim Burton, or Henry Selick, you'll love the creepy production design of this short, which was nominated for an Oscar. Also, at only 9 minutes, it's one of the shorter recommendations I have, and it will set you up perfectly for my final recommendation: the terrifying, lonely, otherworldly Opal. It's late now, and it's time you put the kids to bed. Our first 4 shorts have been scary, but not too scary, and all 4 are ones I would recommend for kids, even if they might wake up terrified that the Sandman will take their eyes. Opal is perhaps our most unsettling, though, with adult themes and imagery that are a bit too much by even horror standards. So put your kids to bed, steal some of their candy.
I ate it all.
And turn on the wonderful world of Jack Stauber's Opal. The short follows our titular Opal as she explores a forbidden house next door. Her parents warn her to never enter said house, but she does it anyway, opening her world up to a creepy cast of characters. The plot is enticing, but it is far from Opal's greatest quality. In my opinion, the biggest strength here is Jack Stauber, the writer and director of this short that has made a name for himself for inserting his offbeat style into a whole host of mediums.
What in the world? No, I went under the awning.
Stauber is, among other things, a songwriter, and his songs transform Opal from a creepy short into a creepy musical short, a pretty important distinction. Opal first appeared cryptically on Adult Swim on the night of October 30th, 2020. In many ways, this cryptic marketing is indicative of one of Stauber's strengths as an artist.
Who is Jack Stauber?
He's private. Oftentimes, his works are released with little warning or fanfare, and with several albums, cartoons, shorts, and songs to his name, he is only added to his mystique over time. Additionally, his works usually beg rewatches and revisits, as Stauber hides hidden meanings that require uncovering from his fans. Without spoiling Opal's big twist, I can say that this is a short that begs 2 watches at least. Opal is just existentialist enough to be the perfect capper to our spooky night. And, as you drift off into bed, I hope you enjoy your dreams of horrifying burger billboards, the Sandman stealing your eyes, the devil playing tricks on you, and skeletons making music with your bones. Don't worry, the Red Baron will be there to protect you. Happy Halloween, and until the next time, I'll see you at the movies.